Welcome back, College Softball Central fans. We are here to drop our top 25. It's also the first day of the season, so we're all going to be looking at other screens. Don't mind us. We're giving you the info, but we're also game watching right now. Very exciting stuff. Jake McKeever in the background is going to try to keep our scroll scores at the bottom there to let you guys know what's going on currently in games. I'm joined today by our three fantastic panelists, Dan Faulkner, Sydney Fields, and Gwen Rhodes. How are we doing, guys? First game of the season. Let's go.
Fantastic. FSU's an out away from winning their second game.
It's a good start, Sid.
It's been a fun day watching softball. Can't beat it.
Yes. We're back. Dan, I know you're excited. You've been all about it all day.
Oh, yeah. And Chloe Malaulu, she will get an opportunity to hit for the cycle here in just a moment.
So she just needs a double. Just needs a double.
So it's exciting.
And if you guys haven't seen, Dan and I did get a chance to sit down with Coach Samantha Ricketts and go do that interview. Go take a look. Mississippi State, super exciting softball down there. Real quick business side of it. We are partners now with Home Field Apparel. If you guys don't know who they are, go check out their stuff. They got tremendous fan gear. Sid's already wearing it right now. We're rocking it. They are fantastic. Go check out all their stuff. They got a ton of teams on there. Really cool gear that you're not going to find in your team store too. Some vintage stuff, some retro stuff. Use the code CBC15. You get 15% off your whole order. So go in there and buy a bunch of stuff. Love it all. Wear it all before games. We're into it here. We're getting down to it. We're going to dive right into our top 25. We're going to start at 25 and go to 1 like we always do. But we're going through the top 25 total teams of our poll. And this is a collective group poll that the College Softball Central team has done. You know what, Gwen, I'm going to let you start off with our 25th team. We got Louisiana started off right there at 25. I almost said Louisville. Louisiana, number 25. Gwen, where are we at on this one?
Yeah, I really like I almost said Louisville now too. I really like Louisiana. They have been a dominant team in the Sun Belt since I think forever. Their pitching staff is just unbeatable in their conference. Sam Landry is one of the best in the conference as well as in the country.
Yeah, I believe that this pitching staff really puts them in a different place in that Sun Belt. Sun Belt's fun, and if you haven't watched enough Sun Belt games, there's some really good games down there, but their pitching staff kind of sets them apart in this conference. Sydney, what are you going to give us here on this Louisiana team?
Yeah, Louisiana's always solid. You know, they make it into the tournament about every year because they win the Sun Belt about every year. I'm excited to watch them in Clearwater and see how they match up against, top teams in the country.
Yeah, this is really their opportunity because their regular season is a little weaker when we talk about matching up against some of these SEC and ACC teams. When you look at them, this is their weekend to really show that they belong as a top 16 seed and hopefully trying to get to host. We have them at 25, and I know they've been in and out of a lot of polls, but we have them here at 25. We like what they're bringing to the table. Sun Belt champs, they're projected to win that conference again. We'll see what they can do. Pitching is their really key, pitching and defense. Speaking of another team that loves pitching and defense but can add a little bit of offense, our first Pac-12 team, Oregon. When we look at this team, Dan, what do you like about Oregon?
Yeah, they're a fun team. And in fact, I think they're another one of those teams. Some people have them ranked, some don't. And I think they earned their spot right here. A lot of your top hitters are back. So Hannah Delgado, Ali Bunker, KK Humphreys. Pitching was sometimes an issue, but Stevie Hansen is back, for her sophomore season. She's going to make great improvement after year one. You get a big transfer in Morgan Scott from UNC Greensboro as well. She was the SoCon Pitcher of the Year twice. So that's a big move for Oregon. And look, they made improvements to make up for what they'd fallen short a year ago. And look, if that's all it takes for them to compete in the Pac-12, which is a loaded conference, folks, a loaded conference. I think we have 7 out of the 9 teams there ranked. So, I mean, it is not everyone except Utah and Cal. So this is a big conference. And, Oregon's getting in the top 25 despite being the 7th highest ranked team in the Pac-12. But, it might just be enough to push them even higher.
Yeah, Oregon last year could hit. They flat out could hit. They flew around the ballpark. Their problem was getting out from the pitching staff. So now that they are switching back and they've tried to make some improvements in the circle, it's going to be a really good thing to see. This is not the softball of old that your parents used to watch. There's not one pitcher that's going to go out there and throw every game. You need multiple arms to get out. You need multiple arms to get through all of these games. One person doesn't necessarily throw all 7 innings anymore. So it's really important to see that. Gwen, when you look at this Oregon team, what do you think about this first Pac-12 team we got in there at Oregon?
Yeah, I've always kind of liked Oregon. One thing that I've noticed, Dan talked about the people coming in and the returners, but they do lose Jazz Williams, who's been kind of a staple in the past couple years, and they lose Brooke Yanez. I mean, they didn't have her last year, but I mean, she was injured last year. Now she's healthy and at UCLA, so that's a big kind of issue for the Ducks.
Yeah, they did lose Janice, and they were hoping that she'd be there, but they really have shored up what they needed to in the transfer portal, and having sophomores coming back, this lineup mostly comes back intact. It's going to be interesting to see how they progress through the Pac-12 season. Going to have to stay hot because it's just every weekend's a slog. Again, the only two teams not ranked are Cal and Utah for us, so it's tough. Moving to a team that also has a tough conference, Auburn, our first SEC team. Sydney, when you look at this Auburn team, what do you like about them? What do you think about this team?
I like the 3 transfers that they brought in. They're expected to, highly improve the roster. I love Brie Ellis. She's going to be huge for them all around. They've got 2 great pitchers coming back. They have room to move up in the polls all season. I mean, they are in the SEC, so that's its own monster. But I think they'll do all right. I think they can move up.
Yeah, when you win in the SEC, you go up in the polls. That's how it happens. All these teams are very talented. They're very good. That's playing top 25 clubs every single weekend. Brie Ellis, shout out. She is my player of the year that I picked for the SEC conference. I'd love to see Auburn give the opportunity around her to just hit, maybe 30 home runs this year. So maybe I'm being opportunistic hoping she hits 30, but I believe that she has the talent to do that down there. Dan, what else do you see about this Auburn club?
Auburn is a tough team for me to read at first. I mean, look, Brie Ellis, phenomenal. Maddie Paint's a great pitcher as well. And just like we talked about how the SEC, you get ranked higher because you're in it, but also throughout the season, that could hurt you as well because you just take such a beating in the schedule. And, looking at it, I was the only voter that didn't vote for Auburn. And part of that was just like, I don't know as much about them. I wanted to, but you can only put 25 teams in there. And so that's part of the struggle with it, right? And look, like it's same with the Pac-12. It's just completely loaded. Every team can contend for a spot in the postseason. And you know what? Like, look, good for Auburn, right? Brie Ellis probably will win Player of the Year in the SEC. I mean, she's just that good. So yeah, Auburn will make noise, especially in non-conference play. We'll see once we get to conference play. It'll be something to see, right? Because you just don't know who's going to come out on top outside of your Arkansas, your Alabama, and your Florida. Who's going to come out on top for the rest of the SEC?
Yeah, for me, it's number 2 pitcher. Who are they going to lean on? It's going to be their secondary pitcher. Like you mentioned, they got great starter. They got Brie Ellis. This team is loaded, but the problem is who's going to be your second pitcher. That's going to be important when it comes to SEC play, especially because those weekend series, they're a grind on you. Going to our number 22 team, we've got Arizona State, the Sun Devils down there. Gwen, why don't you talk a little bit about this Arizona State team?
I wish Arizona State didn't play before we started talking because they did not have that impressive showing in their first ever game against Cal State Northridge. Cal State Northridge led for a majority of the game, I'm pretty sure, but I think the mass exodus out of Arizona State over the offseason didn't really bode well. Obviously, in this first game, they came back and won it, but I feel like that's a game you need to lead for the entire time.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's a little bit of the inexperience and a lot of new players getting opportunities. They do have a lot of talent on this roster, but they're inexperienced. So that's going to come forward, I think, at the beginning of this year. I believe that they're going to fix things and right the ship before Pac-12 play. But yeah, they're inexperienced. And scoring runs is a premium this year. There's a lot of good pitchers in that conference, so you got to really be able to get on top of it. Sydney, what do you think about this Arizona State club?
Yeah, I think we're definitely seeing the woes of having a new coach and everything kind of being new. Right now, I'm really concerned about their pitching. There's not really much great there. Their hitting's all right, but they definitely need to figure it out. They have 9 returners. I think they can get it together and merge well, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah, it's a lot of question marks, and we just kind of look around this team, and it's like, who's going to be the best person, who's going to be the best fit, what lineup's going to work best, and the new staff coming in. They got a lot of things to work with, but they have to work on it. This is not going to be a plug-and-play system. You don't step up first day and have the whole lineup and all the pitching staff figured out. So it's going to be the cream's going to rise to the top of the crop there, and we're going to have to see what really happens with this Arizona State club. We have them at 22. going to another SEC team. There's going to be a lot of SEC, a lot of Pac-12 here, folks. We're going to have to slog through it. 21, we got Kentucky. Dan, start me off on this Kentucky club.
Well, yeah, more SEC teams, right? I mean, this conference everywhere, Pac-12, they're everywhere. Returning a lot of your top hitters from a year ago, and part of the reason that we have them ranked, right? Pitching was well spread out last year. There's no one pitcher I could highlight who got just 200 innings, right? They spread out very well last year. I think that's one thing that's very impressive with this Kentucky team. They didn't rely on just one person, and you could see Sloan Guyan or Izzy Harrison. They might be able to take on some more innings this year. And if their pitching can't compete, I think that's going to be part of the problem, because I think their hitting set, their lineup is pretty good. I mean, every lineup in the SEC is good, right? Outside of South Carolina, but if their pitching can't compete, that'll be the problem for Kentucky. But that's why we have them ranked. We believe in them.
Yeah, 21. I mean, they have a lot of staff experience now. They don't have that go-to ace, and that could be a problem in SEC. Or really, they could throw everybody 3-4 innings a game and just kind of mix it up and see who's hot hand right there and play the hot hand through SEC play. We know a lot about Aaron Koffel, just tremendous talent down there. Gwen, what do you like about this Kentucky team, or what are your concerns?
I will say the first thing I like, I'm looking at the roster. They have a player named Princess. So all-name team candidate, I guess. But I really like, obviously, Kayla Kowalik and Aaron Koffel. But outside of that, I like Kennedy Sullivan. She transferred over last season from, I believe, Western Kentucky. She was pretty good last season, but I think this season, primarily in the pitching circle, she's going to improve a lot.
Yeah, it's what the circle is going to matter, I think, more than the hitting side of that for Kentucky. Can they keep up with these other teams on the defensive side and get outs? You got to get 7 outs every game. Doesn't matter. Or you got to get 7 innings worth of outs. So 21 outs every game. Doesn't matter if you score 11 runs if you give up 12. And that could be the problem here when you look at this Kentucky club. Moving on to another team that's kind of got question marks all over the place. Sydney, LSU, number 20. What is there that we have to like about them, and what are the question marks for this club?
I like LSU a lot, actually. In my personal poll, I had them above Georgia. I think they're being slept on right now. They have their ace back in Ali Koponen. They have 4 of their best hitters back, which will be huge for them. They have a really good freshman and Macy Bergeron coming in. She's a catcher. She can make noise early. There's a lot of room to kind of play around with the lineup and see what's going to happen. But I like them. I think they have room to grow.
I kept them low in my poll because I love what Macy Bergeron brings, but she's a freshman catcher in the SEC. That is no easy task when you're talking about working with this staff and trying to get outs there. But again, there is a lot of room for them to grow. It's SEC play. Whoever gets hot is probably going to be a 16. You're going to get a host. Dan, when you look at this team, what do you see from LSU?
Yeah, you say, she's a freshman, right? But we saw today 2 freshman pitchers get no hitters, right? You never, and this is their first game of their collegiate career. For the team's first game is their first game. They got it. Hey, I'm high on the Macy Bergeron train. All right, Hannah Carson probably going to be starting at third base. Well, huge transfer from Michigan. And look, LSU had a down year last year by their standards. They're not going to let that happen again. They just won't, right? They have too good of a history in recent years to let this kind of year happen again. Expect a huge bounce back. Pretty good chance that there will be a regional in Baton Rouge this year.
Yeah, again, just lots of talent down there in the SEC. Speaking of another SEC club, we got Georgia playing right now in a battle right now in a terrific Thursday night game against UCF. When we talk about this Georgia team, Gwen, what do you like about Georgia? What are our key points for Georgia here at 19?
I've said this. I think I said this on the SEC preview show, but the transfers they bring in, Dallas Goodnight and Shelby Walters. I believe Shelby Walters started the game, and she has performed pretty well to my knowledge. So I really like that they have help behind Madison Kerpix in the circle.
Yeah, multiple pitchers. Again, we keep talking about this. People think that everybody can lean on one pitcher. You can't. It's just not possible, especially early in the season. You're asking them to throw a lot. We know it's underhand, but that takes a toll, and it's good to get innings split out between arms here. So when we talk about this team, Sid, what do you like about Georgia?
I mean, I was sleeping on them a little bit. I thought UCF would take them right now, but they're winning 4-2. They're ranked really highly in a lot of polls, and I didn't rank them that highly, but they do have a ton of power at the plate, and bringing in those 2 transfers is going to be huge for them. Shelby did do really well earlier. I think they took her out already, but I think they'll do well. I don't know if they'll kind of be at the top 5 of the SEC, but I think they'll do all right.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them to crack that, top 4, top 5 SEC teams this year. However, they do have a lot of power. They do very much look like an SEC lineup. They look like they're ready to roll. And starting off the season against UCF, who we'll talk about in a minute, very good team to start off with, especially if you're winning 4-2 in that one. So looking forward to that one. Moving to number 18, we've got Oregon State out here. Oregon State, Dan, when you look at this team, they went to the World Series last year. How do they build off that momentum? What are we looking for in this Oregon State team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the biggest picture here, and part of the reason they're not, a lot higher ranked, is you lose your star player in Mariah Mazon. But she didn't carry that team by herself. There was no one team last year that made it to Oklahoma City on the shoulders of one player, right? It took a team effort, and that's what it takes to make it Oklahoma City. You get a decent amount of the lineup back, and Kiki Escobar, really good top of the lineup hitter, will be back. 330 average a year ago. Frankie, am I saying it right? Hamoudi. Okay, yeah. She had 15 home runs a year ago, right? So your top part of the lineup is still solid, and there's a lot to be excited about. In terms of pitching, you obviously will have the question without Mazon, like who will take over as that lead spot, and you have options there, right? But this is a good opportunity, right, to prove that it wasn't just one player last year. Oregon State is a team that can compete and will compete in possibly the best conference in softball.
Yeah, when you look at this team, for me, Sarah Hindegis is a true ace, and that's one thing that has kind of limited some of the teams in the Pac-12. They have that true ace. Frankie Hamoudi at first base is ranked very high. Gwen, what do you like about this team moving forward in Oregon State Beavers?
I like the fact that, obviously when you go to the Women's College World Series, that experience is invaluable, but I think that is especially true for Sarah Hindegis. I think, that experience last season with Mariah kind of being iffy at the end really helped her and is going to help her in the future.
Yeah, and they were the youngest team in the field last year, and they just performed tremendously. And then when you look at this team, they also had 4 players from their squad play for the World Softball Classic this fall. They really have a lot of talent. Madison Simon is going to make huge steps forward, I think, for the outfield for them. She might be up there in the top of that lineup, kind of helping out Hamoudi, getting some of those away from her. Lacey Campbell, they have talent all over the field. It's going to be interesting to see how Coach Berg does, but she has experience. She knows how to slog through these seasons, so we'll see what this Oregon State club does. Going on to our next one, who's playing right now against Georgia, number 17, UCF. When we look at this UCF squad, Sydney, I'm going to let you take this one first because I know you had them pretty high. What do you think about this UCF team?
Yeah, I'm high on this UCF team. I love Jada Cody this year and Shannon Doherty coming into the season. Jada's on multiple Player of the Year watch lists. She's incredible. They had a really good postseason last year until they ran into Oklahoma. In Norman, pitching is questionable, but they return 3 and they add 3 freshmen, so they have experience there. It's looked really good tonight. I've been impressed, and their uniforms are fantastic tonight, so they're high.
They definitely win the uniform award tonight. They definitely came out on fire. Those uniforms are amazing. Dan, what do you like about this UCF team?
Yeah, last year UCF was put in a really bad situation, right? The moment they were announced as 16 seed, you thought, okay, yeah, you can win your own regional and move on. But look, if anyone's being honest, like I don't think anybody for any reason would have picked UCF to upset Oklahoma, and I don't think anybody expected them to take a game, and they didn't. Which, like I said, it was a tough position for them to be put in, right? Because an AAC team was hosting a regional. That was awesome to see, and they were well deserving of it, right? I mean, like Sid talked about him as well. Jada Cody, phenomenal ball player, definitely a candidate possibility for Player of the Year in the entire country. And look, Kennedy Searcy, Shannon Doherty, they're going to need to carry a bit more as well. Right, because they're losing right now to Georgia, right? You need a little more production from top to bottom of the lineup. Look, like losing to Georgia isn't a bad thing. Georgia's a phenomenal ball club as well. But we're going to see more as we go. They did lose over 300 innings of production in the circle. So you gotta get someone to step up and be that leader, because your top two pitchers from a year ago are gone. And like I said, 300 innings, that is a lot to lose in terms of production.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. That's the question mark, and that's why they're not higher on our list, because they do have offense. Jada Cody is a true talent and can really carry this roster, but you need help around her, and you need outs. So that's what they're experiencing tonight in the Georgia. Georgia just kind of kept slugging, kept battling in this game, and they have the 4-2 lead right now. I think UCF's going to get better throughout the season. Like Sid said, there's a ton of young talent on this team. Are they going to be good enough to keep going? So that's what we have to really see going forward. Number 16, we have Duke. Duke slides in. They had a really tough game this morning, but a really good game. Sydney, what do you like about this Duke ball club? Sydney, you're on mute. And so's Gwen.
Oops. We saw Duke in a tough one earlier, losing to Washington, but they did show some confidence in their lineup. They lost 4-3, and I'm sure they're still losing to OU right now. So it's a really tough day for them. But I'm confident that their lineup will be successful in the future. We saw some good stuff today, and I think their pitching will get better. They just faced two really tough teams today.
Yeah, and you're looking for experience to come through, but then you had Amino Vega, freshman, come in and step up right away for Duke, RBI singles, and they're just a team that's going to continue to grind and continue to get better. Gwen, what do you like about this Duke team? I know these first two games are really tough for them, but there's a lot of season to go here.
Yeah, I think honestly right now the only thing that I do like is Amina Vega. She showed out really well in the Washington game, but I'm gonna kind of pivot a little bit and kind of say what I don't like or what I think needs to improve. Is the pitching behind Jayla Wright. I do like her, and I think she pitched good for the first part of the Washington game. And I don't know who's pitching right now, but I don't know. It obviously can't be that good since it's Oklahoma and they're losing.
It's just a tough match. Anytime you draw, you're talking about two teams that might be national seeds, and you have to play them the very first weekend. It's a good measuring stick. It's good to get out there. Good to see your freshman taking the role there in Amina Vega, but they're going to need more from the circle, and they're going to need more than just Wright. They're going to be okay. They're fine. Don't panic, Duke fans. You're fine. It's the first two games against two very good teams. It's not going to kill you. Look forward for this team to keep getting better throughout the season with this young ball club. Moving to our number 15 team. Gwen, I'm going to let you start. The Stanford Cardinal. They just kind of go to business every day, but what do you like about this team here in Stanford?
Alana Vawter. That's my only answer. I mean, I just feel like she is Stanford. And I mean, I didn't know much outside of Alana Vawter last season going into the Tuscaloosa regional besides her, but that's always going to be my number one answer.
Yeah, she shows up ready to throw every single day. She gives Stanford a chance to be in any ball club or in any ball game that she is pitching, and that's really all you can ask from a starting pitcher at this level. Stanford returns a lot, and they have a lot of innings coming back. They really do look like a team that wants to compete and be in the top 16. For me, I don't believe this is a top 8 club at any time this season, but they do show up and they compete every single week in, week out. Dan, what do you think about this Stanford ball club at 15?
Yeah, pitching. They can shut any team out any day of the week. Alana Vawter, Reagan Krause. So similar to how UCF had lost 300 innings, Stanford brings back 300 innings of production between these two, and they had an ERA combined about 1.8. That is absolutely phenomenal. Pitching is not going to be an issue at all for Stanford. So whoever's in the circle, if you're a Stanford fan, don't worry, you'll be fine. I'm a little bit concerned about the hitting, right? Because if you just had a really highly ranked lineup, this is a top 3 team in the country, right? Because their pitching staff is top 5 without a doubt. Yes, you do have a lot of returners on there, but the problem is there just wasn't a whole lot of production out of that lineup a year ago. A bit of a small ball team, just lots of singles, doubles, not a whole lot of home runs for them. So we'll have to see how it goes, right? They got hot at the right time, won the Tuscaloosa Regional, ended up losing to Oregon State in the Supers, and look, like they're still a really, really solid ball club though.
Yeah, this team is built off pitching and defense, and they're going to have to squeeze out and get 3 runs a game to win down there. They are very good though on those two aspects, which was what keeps them here at 15. I don't know how far they're going to stay. I don't know if they're going to get a host this year. My feeling is that Stanford kind of trails off without the lack of power, but we'll see what happens. Maybe somebody steps up and begins crushing the ball at the ballpark for them. Right now, I don't see it. Moving to number 14, a team that has a ridiculous amount of power, Sydney. What do you like about this Arizona ball club?
I like Arizona this year. I'm really high on Allie Skaggs. I think she's going to have a great year at the plate, and Izzy Pacho at catcher. And then you have Devin Netz as their ace. They have a really good crew returning. They have a ton of power. I think they'll do really well, and I think Alex will definitely lead the team.
Yeah, Alex Skaggs is amazing, and she's going to crush the ball. My problem is when you get past the middle of their lineup and you get past the starting ace, where do they go? Because they don't really have a whole lot of depth there. When you look at this team, what do you think about Arizona, Dan?
Well, you know, it's funny you asked me to do this, cover the team that eliminated our beloved Bulldogs. It's like asking Sydney to talk about Texas, which actually, oh, look at that. She will.
Have to do.
Now, look, yeah, I'm going to repeat what she said, though. You know, Allie Skaggs, phenomenal hitter. And earlier tonight, right, Izzy Pacho hit a grand slam. Devin Netz, I think she was pitching. She had a – look at that. I think Devin Netz hit a home run as well. So we love pitchers who rake, right? I forgot to take a look at the lineup because it was my belief that Dakota Kennedy would also be a starter, right? The freshman, really highly touted recruit. I'd have to go back and take a look, but you know, really bright future for her. I think she can make an impact, and especially when you lose someone like Charlize Palacios to the transfer portal to UCLA, you know, you need another bat in there to really make up for that. And hey, like I think Dakota Kennedy could be that bat, right? I think there was an outfield opening for her to take it, and we'll have to see, right? Very bright future for her, and very bright future for Arizona.
Yeah, we like that they are trending up. They did seem to have some struggles last season during the Pac-12 play. I expect them to make new changes here. First-year coach last year. They're going to be better. They're going to keep getting better. Their stock is rising. I think that they have a very high floor and an okay high ceiling. I just don't see them maybe nationally getting into the top 8, but we'll see. The season progresses. If they can win the Pac-12, there's lots of things that can happen. Speaking of a team that I think we kind of shorted a little bit as our number 13 team, Washington. Boy, this Washington team has a lot of good things about them. Gwen, why don't you start us off with this Washington club?
When I was watching the Duke-Washington game earlier, I was like, I want Duke to win, but then obviously Washington came back. And I think that was largely in part to Ruby Malin on the mound. Kelly Lynch kind of faltered a little bit in her later outings, and then Ruby Malin came in and kind of shut Duke down. And I was really impressed. Like, I know she's the Nebraska Gatorade Play of the Year, but I don't know, a freshman coming into a high-pressure situation like that, can't beat it.
Yeah, I tweeted that out earlier today. I said, if Washington has a pitching staff now, look out, because this lineup is a national seed, Washington. I know Dan and I were talking about it a lot earlier. This is a very good ball club. Sydney, when you look at this Washington team, what do you like?
Yeah, they have a great offense that we saw earlier. And Ruby and Lindsay Lopez in the circle are going to be great, I think, this year. Last year they ran into a hot Texas team that stopped them from advancing, but I think they stay top 15 all season this year.
They battled Texas down the last out, and that was a terrific series up there. Terrific supers. I look forward to seeing this Washington team progress. Bailey Klinger is a true talent up there. She can carry this team. Now that they have pitching, I look for them to be a top 8 seed. That's just me. I had them a lot higher than 13, but I believe that this team is very good. We're going to move to our next team, number 12, Tennessee. Dan, I'm going to let you start on this Tennessee club because there's a lot to like, but I want you to just pick out some points here. Tell me about this Tennessee team.
Yeah, we're getting out of the top of the SEC, right? Tennessee definitely deserving this ranking. They are a contender for a top 8 seed later in the year, right? If they can take a few of their big series in conference. Kiki Malloy, I mean, a legitimate player of the year candidate. In terms of the circle, right? Ashley Rogers, it's her team. She, you know, at least in when I watched, she proved herself as an ace in the SEC tournament. I think she went 14 innings against Mississippi State until Tennessee walked it off in the 14th inning. I mean, it was a phenomenal to watch. I hated it, but I'm sure the average fan would have loved watching it, right? And I had to respect for just the phenomenal performance that was out there. You know, McKenna Gibson probably going to send out 15 home runs or more next year. And you know, with the focus on being Malloy, I mean, like I said, that would be open up spots throughout the rest of the lineup for them to play better. I mean, they're a contender for the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah, Tennessee looks to have all the pieces. Gwen, what do you like about this Tennessee, or where do you see any weaknesses from them?
I don't know if I see. I guess the only thing I could say in weaknesses is the pitching staff, but I like the pitching staff genuinely behind Ashley Rogers. They have Carlin Pickens, a freshman. They have Peyton Goshaw from, I believe, Boiling Green, and that's what they really didn't have last year. Like when Ashley Rogers was out, it was just I forget her name, but they had their second pitcher, and that was it. So they basically had one pitcher when Ashley Rogers wasn't healthy, and she was like 50-50 last season.
Yeah, and they've really seemed to shore up their pitching issues. They can crush the ball. Kiki Malloy can carry this team in that lineup, and they're very talented. I like to see more than Ashley Rogers, but that's enough to get you started and put you in our top 25 pretty easily right there with those two. Moving to our next team, number 11, Virginia Tech really is going to be battling for an ACC title here. They really believe that they belong. Dan, what do you see about this Va-Tech team that's so much to like? You're on mute, Dan. Yeah. And Sid and Quinn. What is that?
I just don't like to have you hear my background.
I had hit the unmute button when I went to go back to the page. I did not. So, yeah, there's a bit of a drop-off from last year. I think they were the third-ranked team going into postseason last year. And that was on the shoulders of their pitching, right? Keela Richard and Emma Lemley. Richard's gone. Now it's Emma Lemley's team. And, look, there's no reason to believe that she won't be absolutely phenomenal this season. Now, she's going to need some help as well as Peyton List, Molly Jacobson, Lindsey Grine. I mean, I'm not sure who that's going to be. I don't know. I don't think they're playing today, so we'll definitely see this weekend with how they do. But for the lineup, you have Emma Ritter, Cameron Fagan, Kelsey Bennett. They're going to be good. Bree Peck's probably going to get around 15 home runs. And look, like you just need one player to get around 15 home runs. The rest of your lineup, you just need to get hits, right? You need one big power bat. I think it's going to be Bree Peck. They're going to be a competitor for the ACC. Maybe not the same level this year as Clemson and Florida State, but we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, like I'm excited to see Emma Lemley in the circle this year. Yeah,
I feel like this team's solid. It's just the question marks past Lemley at pitching. Like, where are they going to go for that? Where are they going to get innings? Who's going to compete really at this level? Sydney, when you look at this team, what do you think about this Virginia Tech team moving forward here at 11?
Yeah, they have 8 all ACC players back. They have a really tough schedule starting off the season, really competitive. They have a deep team, and they'll have freshmen rotating around also. Of course, Emma Lemley will be huge for them. They also have freshman Lindsey Green coming in. So that's kind of where their pitching is, but they definitely have to find more there and consistency in the circle.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to, because it feels like this lineup is an everyday grinding, kind of give you that lineup, kind of give you 4, 5, 6 runs in there where you need to be to win. Can they have the circle production? That's what they're really lacking to being elite last year and being able to continue their season. So we're going to see what they can do this year and continue to be, battle for that ACC title. Number 10, we're getting to our top 10 now, folks. Texas at 10. You know what, Sydney? I am going to let you start with this Texas team. I know that I was picking on Dan earlier. I am a little evil. I like to make you guys talk about these teams. Sydney, tell me about this Texas ball club at 10.
Texas is just not the team that they were last season. I think they're a little high in a lot of polls. They are returning Mia Scott, who had a fantastic postseason. She was great for them last year, and she's huge returning. Bringing back Sophia Simpson in the circle, that'll be big for them. Courtney Day, they lost a lot, and I don't know if they'll be able to have the run that they did last season, but I mean, they're definitely top 3 in the Big 12.
I'm worried about this offense. I feel like the pitching is going to be okay. They're going to be able to win games in the pitching. I'm worried that they're not going to have enough production from this offense and enough senior leadership to really carry this club like they had last year. They had so much talent at the senior level last year. Gwen, when you look at this team, what do you think about Texas here at 10?
Yeah, I agree with Sydney in the fact that I think they're ranked a little high, but I think that's also like the Women's College World Series haze. Like if you go to the Women's College World Series, you're going to be ranked decently high the next season. I think their offense just isn't going to be what it was last year, obviously, and their pitching staff, is subpar to what it was last season. I would really like to see Estelle Check step up a little bit more. I feel like Sophia Simpson is going to carry their pitching staff, though.
Simpson's so good, and I think that's why a lot of teams are leaning on having Texas high. A lot of polls had them higher because Simpson was so good late last year, and it kind of highlighted her abilities to possibly be that ace. But yeah, I think Texas has a lot to gain here and try to be better than they were. I don't see them being anywhere they were last year. I don't see them competing for a national championship, but I do think that Texas deserves to be in the top 25. I just think that maybe 10 might be a little bit high for them here, but they're getting a lot of pull love. A lot of lean over from last year's World Series team, so we'll see what happens here with Texas. Number 9, we've got Northwestern. Gwen, I'm going to let you start with this Northwestern club because there's a lot to like, but there's also some question marks. What do we see here with Northwestern?
Aside from like all their seniors coming back, which I think is like the biggest W you could take if you're Northwestern or any team, their schedule starting off is really, really hard. They have the NFC Leadoff Classic where they face Tennessee and Texas. They go to the ACC Big Ten Challenge with Clemson, and then Mary Nutter with UCLA, Oregon, and Kentucky. So if they come out of that stretch with over half of their games wins, I think they're off to a really good start.
I think it's a really good measuring stick for this Northwestern team early. They do, like you said, have a lot of senior leadership returning, which means that this club will be composed or should be composed and ready to make these games, which is difficult early in the season for a lot of teams that are starting freshmen. Like we said, there's a lot of freshmen that really competed well today. Dan, when you look at this Northwestern team, what do you like? What are you missing here?
Northwestern, I guess if you call it the North, the Queen of the North, right? They're the best team, technically the Midwest, but north of me, all right? Maybe not north of Mark and Gwen right now, but north of me and Sydney, right? They're the Queen of the North. Look, Danielle Williams, bona fide ace. Jordan Rudd, Hannah Katie, bona fide superstars. What more do they need, right? There is no team in the Big Ten that is going to compete with them, right? Michigan's at that number 2 spot in the conference. They're not good enough to take over number 1, not right now, especially with the loss of Hannah Carson. So, Northwestern is the clear favorite to win the Big Ten, and pretty likely that they're going to be another top 8 or what they were the 9th seed last year, but they still made it to Oklahoma City. It's just unfortunate their first game was against Oklahoma. Like so many teams that just had an unfortunate path of who they had to play. But Northwestern, really solid ball club. And like Gwen said, if they come out, above 500 in this brutal stretch they got, they're for real.
Yeah, there's nobody competing with them in the Big Ten this year, and it really feels like almost a down year in the Big Ten as far as softball is concerned. And so they should really run away with it this year. And I think that that's also going to help them in the polls when people start looking and seeing that their conference record is getting up there in the high 20s in wins. I think teams are going to take notice of that, and pollsters are really going to keep boosting them. So I see this Northwestern team being a top 10 all year, really, even if they go 500 for these first preseason games. We'll see what really happens. I mean, every game counts now, but really getting into Big Ten plays where it's going to matter here for this Northwestern club. Moving to another team, number 8, Clemson. We're really high on Clemson. We love Clemson. We think this is going to be a tremendous team. It's really impressive how fast they've climbed to this level. Dan, what do you like about this Clemson team?
This is our Clemson Tigers right here. All right, folks. Millie Thompson, Reagan Spencer back in the circle. Kenzie Clark, star in the outfield. Every morning, Valerie Cagle wakes up in the morning, takes a sip of coffee, says, "I'm her," and goes to work. Right? I think she hit a home run today. This lineup, they are dogs. All right. Oh, I guess Tigers. But, look, the ACC fell apart in their opportunities in the postseason last year. Right? Clemson lost to Oklahoma State. Florida State, I'm not going to talk about them. Actually, I will. Lost in the regional to Mississippi State. Virginia Tech lost to Florida in the Supers. So, they didn't have a single team in Oklahoma City. And get this, the last time that a team not named Florida State from the ACC made it to the College World Series was Virginia Tech in 2008. That is changing this season. Clemson will be in the College World Series this year, right?
With Florida State.
Florida State calling it now. We're sending 2 ACC teams. Boy, after last year's collapse by the ACC, I don't know if I can buy on that. I do love Clemson. I think that they are going to get there. I love this Clemson team. I love what they bring in. I think they have so much talent. They have so much upside. Sydney, when you look at this team, what do you like about Clemson?
I love Clemson. They get better every year. They're such a young program, which is what is most impressive to me about them. They're returning 5 All-ACC players, all their pitchers, Millie Thompson. Together, they all held a 1.78 ERA. They're just a good team all around.
Yeah, I just want to see a little more production from this lineup before I start crying on them as a top 4 team. But they're there in the top 8. They're right where they belong. I think that we have them picked perfectly here at 8, and they have a lot of upside. So we'll see. That staff is just so good. It really does make you wonder how many teams are going to be able to score runs against this Clemson ball club. Moving into number 7, another team that has some pitching. Sydney, what do you like about Alabama here at 7?
I like Alabama where we have them. Returning Montana Fouts is huge for them, obviously. I think she's going to have such a good year. I have her as an SEC Pitcher of the Year. I think she's on her little revenge tour, and she's going to be great. She also has her catcher back and Allie Shipman. There are 8 newcomers, so I'm interested to see what happens outside of, Montana and Allie and the couple other starters coming back. But I'm anxious to see how they all blend together in the lineup and all that.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising because when you think about Alabama, you think about they're going to have tons of seniors. They have lots of leadership. They have a little bit of that. Fouts is a true ace and ready to go. But can they produce runs? Gwen, what do you think about this Alabama team?
I want Bailey Dowling to be great. She was supposed to be great her freshman year when she was sidelined by an injury. So I'm hoping this is the year of Bailey Dowling.
Love it. I really do believe that this Alabama club can be as good as any team in the SEC this year. However, it's going to come down to performance. And last year they just were right there on the edge of being great, and they just never really jumped into that great category. I think we're all looking for Montana Fouts to have a tremendous season, maybe 20-plus game winner, looking at a sub-2 ERA. She could be the one that carries this Alabama team. So we'll see moving forward here. But we're going to talk about another SEC team that a lot of us are very high on. Florida.
Wait, before we go to Florida, I will say I think this happened in January. They had their class of 2024 top prospect reclassified to this class, so she's playing at Alabama this season.
Yeah, I'll have to look and see who that was again. But yes, I know that they had some changes to their class that skipped their senior year of college or high school softball. So we'll see what happens.
That's her name.
What was it?
Kenleigh Cahalan.
Kenleigh Cahalan. All right, we'll keep an eye out. She could be the production that they need because that Alabama is going to have a lot of different people in the lineup. So we'll see. Moving to our number 6 team, Florida. We like this team a lot. Gwen, I'll let you start with Florida here. I know that they have a lot to like. What are their concerns? What do we like about this team here? Gwen, homer pick.
Yeah, definitely my homer pick. Yeah, for sure. I like their pitching staff. I've always liked their pitching staff. Don't tell anybody I said that. That's an FSU fan. Elizabeth Hightower's back. They do get what?
I said you like their pitching staff. I'm going to go tweet that.
No, I didn't say that. I will deny that, actually. And Sam Bender transfers over from Tennessee. I'm really interested to see how she does with this Gator pitching staff. She wasn't the best pitcher at Tennessee, so hopefully Mike Bosch works a little magic and does Sam Bender some good in Florida.
If Bender can eat up some innings, though, that could help a lot of that back-end bullpen there, too. She may not get a ton of starts, but if she can eat up some innings, that's going to be big for them.
And Dan? I heard Lexi Delbrey is injured, ?
Oh,
so
that would be a big injury. Dan, when you look at this Florida team, I know that there's a player that probably shoots off the page that you love so much. Tell us about this Florida team here.
Yeah, wagon, absolute wagon. Skylar Wallace, my pick for SEC Player of the Year. Go Gators, right? Chomp on. According to one source, the best softball team in the state of Florida, our good friends at Big Game Boomer, declared Florida as the best team in Florida. Do I agree? No, but Florida can be the best team in the conference, right? And actually, I didn't know about Lexi Delbrey. I didn't know that she might be hurt. Question mark, right? Elizabeth Hightower is still back. That's huge for them here. Lots of upperclassmen on this team. Florida can make a run at the conference title. It will be hard to dethrone Arkansas, for the title would be actually really, really difficult. But if any one team can do it, I would pick Florida over Alabama to do that. They're a really, really solid club, and I think they're going to start hitting home runs better than they did last year, and that's going to propel them forward by a lot.
I was going to say this is a different SEC team because they don't hit the ball out of the ballpark a lot, but Skylar Wallace can, and she could have double-digit home runs pretty easily and hit almost 400. She is where this team goes. Jake, am I reading that correct, that Arizona State's up 5-0 on San Diego State University? Side note, just wondering about that. If they're actually scoring runs this game, that would make me feel a lot better about Arizona State. But this Florida team is very talented. We have them here at number 6. Now we're going to move on to our last SEC team, currently SEC. Arkansas, number 5. Sydney, of course, I'm going to let you start with your Arkansas Razorbacks.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's going to be a battle between Florida and Arkansas, I think, for the top 2. And even just those top 3 spots in the SEC are going to be a huge battle. But the main thing is, getting the youth jitters out of the way and kind of seeing how they play, especially the beginning of the season and in Clearwater. There's going to be movements around the infield, movements at catcher, movements at third. The whole infield is pretty much different. They did lose a freshman that I was excited to see this year in Nyjah Fontenot. She tore her ACL, so we won't be able to see her. But I think this weekend will be a huge kind of sign of where we're going. And next weekend, it's just really up to how the freshmen and the newcomers shine in big moments.
Very young team. We have them very highly rated. There's a reason. They're talented, but it's very young. It's going to be seen whether this team can perform at that level with that youngness there, especially with Florida and Alabama really just chomping at the bit to get ahead of them in that SEC. Dan, what do you think about this Arkansas club?
Love this Arkansas ball club. Woo pig suey, I'll say it. Look, for Arkansas athletics, this school year has been tough. Football, really high expectations, didn't meet them. Basketball, really high expectations, haven't met them. It's been a letdown, but Arkansas fans rejoice, or actually this could be your doom, right? In top 10 in football and in basketball. Here they're ranked number 5. I think in baseball we have them ranked at number 4. So between both baseball and softball, Arkansas is way up there, right? Now is the time for the sports that y'all are actually good at. And look, I'm really excited about this Arkansas softball team. They are the favorite to win the SEC again for good reason. Really good team. I'll say it again. Woo Pig, Shanice Dallas, picked to win Pitcher of the Year. I'll say it one more time. Woo Pig Suey. So
KJ was hurt. Listen, we do believe that Arkansas athletics has had a rough go at it this year, we'll say. They were very highly talented in a lot of sports, but there's a reason we have them here at number 5. They're very talented. I just want to see if these young newcomers can really add to this team and have the composure to be good throughout in SEC play. It's tough. Every week is very tough. Road series are very hard in the SEC. I want to see if these young gals can come up and really be the high talent that they're supposed to be. We'll see. They get tough tests all year. So moving to our number 4 team, Oklahoma State. Some people have said that we have them much too low at 4. I had them lower than this. Dan, why don't you start with this Oklahoma State club? Where do you like them?
Well, yeah, they're a star-studded team and led by arguably the best pitcher in America, Kelly Maxwell. In fact, I see Oklahoma State and Clemson somewhat similar. Obviously, a bit of the edge to Oklahoma State, right? They took down Clemson in the Supers last year. And look, they want to end their season better than it did because they just fell apart against Texas there at the end. I thought they were going to have the chance to take on Oklahoma for the national championship, and that would have been maybe not – it might not have even been a competitive match. What we did have in the championship wasn't Oklahoma dominated, but who knows if Oklahoma State could have made it. But, a phenomenal team. You got a great transfer in Rachel Becker. Kylie Naomi is having a bounce-back season this year. She did not have a good season last year. It hurt to see that. She's having a big bounce-back year. Cheyenne Factor, Caitlin Carwile. I mean, they got that dog in them. So yeah, they're the best team in the Big 12, not named Oklahoma, and just so happens they have to share a state with them. So it happens, but yeah, really high on this Oklahoma State team. I think they belong right here at 4 because the 3 teams right above them are also really, really good. But interesting thing, right? They're at 4. Technically, they are tied at number 3 with the 3rd-ranked team. So technically, we could say they're 3rd.
We could, but we won't because some of us here pick Florida State much higher than Oklahoma State here on this pod. Oklahoma State is good. I think that the bar, the Oklahoma State between Oklahoma State and Texas is a big gap. Like we're talking about a big gap there, but that same gap almost applies with Oklahoma. So we're going to have to see how it progresses this season here. They are clear away the number 2 team in the Big 12, in my opinion. I think that they're a super talented team. Gwen, what do you like about this Oklahoma State team?
I heard either today or the other day that they have 14 newcomers, which is insane between transfers and freshmen, but I feel like that's the OU brand, or not OU, OSU brand. I'm sorry, OSU fans. But they lose their hitting coach and Julia Cottrell, father and daughter duo. And I'm really interested to see how that plays out. Like, obviously, Jeff Cottrell's not like the hitting whisperer, but I'm interested to see how their offense fares this season.
Yeah, a lot of newcomers coming in with a huge bar to set. You know, going to Omaha is really what Oklahoma State wants as their end goal. All these teams want that, obviously, but Oklahoma State believes that they belong there right now. We're going to have to see. Season's going to play itself out. We're going to be able to view this. We'll be able to vote every single week and figure out where they're at. Right now, we have them at number 4, even though they're tied with our number 3 team, Florida State, the Seminole. We know that they had a tough exit last year. Gwen, why don't you tell us a little bit about this team moving into this 2023 season here?
Yeah, so they officially have 2 games under their belt as of right now. I think they played decent against Lipscomb. I want to see the Bats wake up a little bit more. They're kind of playing around with their lineup, putting people in different spots on the field and in the batting order. But I will say I was really, really impressed with freshman McKenna Reed. She came in after Allison Royalty gave up a game-tying home run, and I was also impressed. I am a proud FSU homer. Thank you for rewriting the narrative to the truth. But yeah, I was really impressed with Allison Royalty. I knew I was going to be. But McKenna Reed, I just was honestly blown away by. She is a typical FSU pitcher, spinny, hard, and I love her.
Yeah, there's a lot to like with this Seminole team. Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit about this Florida State club?
I am scared for whoever they will have to play in their regional this year. It is Catherine Sandercock revenge tour. And, you know, look, Mississippi State woke up a sleeping giant. You know, they screwed it up because now Florida State is coming back. Look, they're going to be back just fine this year. You know, they did just run into a team that at the time had the right momentum. That was not a knock at all in Florida State. There is a reason they're the number 3 team in the country right here. There's a reason they were number 2 going to the postseason last year. They're absolutely loaded. And just like Gwen said, you know, look, the bats are going to be fine. Pitching, it's going to be fine. I see no issue with this team. Definitely the favorite to win the ACC. I'm really excited to see them play Clemson later in the year, just because that will be a battle, and probably whoever wins that series will win the conference. And look, like it's Florida State season. They are back.
I personally had them at number 2 in my poll, and I looked at this team and I thought they had the least amount of question marks other than not named Oklahoma. So looking at this team, they had the least amount of question marks moving into the season. The only question I have is that lineup. Are they going to solidify people, or are they going to keep playing 14 people and try to figure out who's going to be in that lineup? But they have so much options that it's really not that bad of a question mark. Sydney, what do you think about this Florida State team?
I think it's a full-on Florida State revenge tour. They're coming back with vengeance. They're not going to lose a regional at home again. With Sandercock in the circle. I'm sad I didn't watch the second game and I didn't see McKenna Reed, but I'm really excited to watch her this year. Allison Royalty, they just have so much depth in the circle. And they looked great today. So I'm anxious to see how their bats get going later on.
Yeah, the depth and talent really is what separates them between them and Clemson right now. Clemson can match that gap if they continue to progress, but those two teams are so far above Vautech, I believe. So I think it is really a two-horse race there in the ACC. But who knows? We have a whole season to play out, so that's what we're here for. That's what we get to see. We're starting today with the games, but we still have a whole season. Going to our number 2 team, UCLA. They're all over the polls, but usually people have them in the top 5. Sydney, what do you like about this UCLA team?
I love that they have Megan Framo back. She's huge for them. She's my Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year. Maya Brady back. She was incredible in Oklahoma City last season. She's going to be great this year. I don't think anyone's touching them in the Pac-12 anytime soon. They are the softball blue blood. They have a chip on their shoulder this year. They got 4 transfers and 7 freshmen. So I'm anxious to see how the experience and then the new girls, I'm anxious to see how they all work together. And Charlize Palacios she's going to be huge. She already has Pac-12 experience from them. So, I mean, I think we have them pretty well.
Yeah, mixing a lot of talent with new people is kind of how you compete at this level. And they're clearly the best team in the Pac-12. It's a long season, like we've said. But, Gwen, when you look at this UCLA team, what do you like?
Yeah, I think I said this on the Pac-12 preview show that UCLA is like 1 to 2 teams that won the transfer portal. And with that, I feel like you have so many great people coming in addition to the already great people you have, is how do you play them? Just kind of like the Florida State thing I said earlier, they messed around with the lineup a little bit, and I feel like UCLA is going to do that for a little bit too. And I'm interested to see how that happens.
Yeah, it's almost a chess for them is going to be playing their own team, whether they're going to see who's going to be in that lineup, bringing in all that talent. It's tough to mix that in and really find the leadership that's going to be there. Megan Framo is just a true ace on the mound. That really gives them a chance to be in any game right now. Figuring out that lineup, they have tons of talent, though. They'll be able to put people in places. Dan, what do you see in this UCLA club?
Definitely the best team outside of Norman, Oklahoma. I'd say they're in their own tier, right? I mean, obviously, you have number 1, they're their own tier, Oklahoma, but right below you have UCLA. If any team could take out the Sooners, it will be UCLA. I would think, at least in the postseason format, right? I mean, the Sooners might drop a game or 2 throughout the season, but if any team in the postseason format is going to take out the Sooners, it's this UCLA team. They hit the portal, just like Gwen had mentioned. It got better. This rotation is insane. Framo, Brooke Yanez, Lauren Shaw. I mean, pitching is elite, right? Palacios from Arizona. I think Megan Grant is going to be an impact freshman right away. Just everywhere. There is so much talent on this team, and historically the greatest team in softball history. 12 national championships since 1983. 12. They're no joke. And they will be competing for a national title this year. They have a shot at winning it, which is weird to say like they actually have a shot for the number 2 team in the country, but that's just how good number 1 is.
Going about our number 1 team, I think everybody in the country knows who this is. I don't think any poll had them lower than 1. Oklahoma, number 1. They return so much. They're so talented. Dan, why don't you pick out a couple pieces and tell me why number 1?
Well, look, if any – obviously, they were unanimous for our poll. If they weren't unanimous in any other poll, I want to have just a quick little chat with whoever voted because I don't know why. Jocelyn Allo's gone, and she's gone, and you could almost argue that they got better. There is a possible argument, right? Tiara Jennings still that dog. Jordy Ball is arguably the best pitcher in America, right? She and Kelly Maxwell up at the top. They both happen to be pitching in the same state. They got Sydney Sanders in the transfer portal, for crying out loud. Gosh, there's not a single hole in this lineup, right? And don't ever bring up, they only put a few runs up on Duke today. Okay, it's the first game of the year, right? They will be run-ruling teams very soon. They're playing Liberty probably starting right about now, I bet. Probably going to be run-ruling them. I want to see that just because I think Liberty's a good team, but they're gonna beat the snot out of them.
Possibly. It's got to be played out. We still got to watch these games. Still a lot to see here.
On wood, yeah.
Oklahoma, Sydney, what do you think about this Oklahoma team? I know there's a lot to like, and there's a lot of new pieces.
Their whole roster is just a player of the year watch list. I mean, Sydney Sanders, T.R. Jennings, Jada Cody, Jordy Ball, Grace Lyons, Haley Lee. Grace Lyons had a really good game against Duke today. I mean, you just name anyone on their team and they're on a watch list. They have so much power there. T.R. Jennings was second in their offense last season, obviously behind Jocelyn Allo, and she had 29 home runs herself. So I assume she only got better. They have a really good defense, really good offense. I mean, there's no one really touching them for who knows how long.
Yeah, they're very talented. Gwen, anything to add about this Oklahoma team?
Jordy Ball is hitting now, and that terrifies me. Because she was great in the circle, and now she has a bat in her hands. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, one thing I didn't hear anybody mention was Alex Turalco also being there. So they just really just filled out the circle, and they're just really talented. It's going to be tough because even if you start beating up Ball, then there's more pitchers behind her. So this is a really talented team. It's going to take a tremendous effort to knock them off the number one. I see them losing less than 5 games probably this whole season, but we're going to have to see what happens if we're getting into all of that. So we're going to find out more this season, but that's our top 25 there, guys. We're going to talk about teams right now. So I'm going to have each of you guys give me one team only that's not in our top 25 that you feel should be there. Dan, I'm going to let you start with this one. What team is not here?
And I wanted to pick 2. Honorable mention is just Liberty. They're going to get beat up early season, but they're going to dominate the Sun Belt. But no surprise for me here. Baylor, right? Our Baylor Bears. Look, the Big 12 is top heavy, right? You have 7 teams in there. 1, 2, 3 is Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas. Baylor is number 4 in that list. And if they're able to get a sweep of Iowa State, Texas Tech, and Kansas, and at least take one game from Texas, maybe even a game from Oklahoma State, they'll be in the top 25 in May, right? They have a chance to get wins over Minnesota, Texas A&M, Tennessee. Hey, on Sunday, they're playing Arkansas. Who knows? Miracles happen, right? Go Baylor Bears. It's a huge chance to boost up their resume. Look, like they're just a solid team all around. They made a few changes in the portal. I didn't vote for them in the top 25 in this poll, just not yet. They're close, but if they pull out a win against Arkansas, hey, they'll get a vote from me.
There's some teams right on the outside for me that I see, and Baylor's one. But they're gonna have to show me. There's a lot of show me's here outside the top 25. Gwen, who do you have outside the top 25 right now that you feel will be there in May?
I feel like Utah. I feel like Utah last season had a decent ending. I like the Utah Utes. Sue me. But I do like Utah. I think last season they could have easily been in to the postseason if 1 or 2 things went their way, and I think they're going to capitalize again.
Yeah, that Utah team could be talented. That's just a tough Pac-12. But winning Pac-12 games puts you in the rankings, so that's really what's going to happen. Sydney, who do you have this outside the top 25 now that you think could be in the top 25 in May?
I hate to say it because I do not like this school, but I've got Mizzou. Jenna Laird will help this team be better this year than they were last year. She's great. They made it to the SEC championship in the tournament last year, but they lost to Arkansas. And they played some close games and got some quality wins last year. And they returned a lot of good hitters. So I think with their schedule and going through SEC play, I think they can sneak in there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great pick. I love them there too. That's just a good team. The SEC is so good. I'm going to go with another SEC team that I didn't think I was going to go through, but Mississippi State. After interviewing Coach Ricketts, I would run through a wall for her, and I love what that program's doing. I think that by the end of the SEC team, they could really get there. This is a very talented team. Chloe Malolo just crushed the ball today, almost hit for the cycle. That team has a lot of talent. I want to see more. Again, all these teams outside the top 25 for me are show me, but Mississippi State's doing what they're supposed to do right now, which that's a big thing.
My man.
I know. I feel almost like I'm going home or Mississippi State, and I didn't even feel. It just hit me. I was like, oh my god, they're not ranked? Like, man. After interviewing Coach, that's how I go. Well, but I like
Mississippi State home.
Votes in our poll.
Okay, we're gonna do a fun one here, Jake. We're gonna have you join us here and jump in. You said we have a question there from the fans?
Yes, let me get it pulled up. They're talking about the worst school in the country for reference. So,
Oh no.
I loved all the. Any thoughts on LSU Lady Tigers? I loved all the home runs last year, but are we going to have better pitching this year? We did talk on this. We do believe that they're going to be improved in the circle this year. We think that this team is going to be much better. My personal question was Bergeron behind the plate. You know, that's tough to be a freshman catcher and really lining these gals up to be successful in the circle. I do believe that this team's going to be better. I believe that our whole staff agrees that this team will be better this year inside the circle than they were last year. Less errors also in the field, I think, is going to be key for them. They had a lot of mistakes in the field that hurt them late in games as well. So I believe that I speak for everybody on this one when I said that they will be better. Thanks for the question. All right. We're going to do a little fun one here. I don't know those who watched our baseball set. We do pick the college player of the year. We're going to snake draft this, so it's a lot of fun. So we each get to pick one at a time. We already drew these out of a hat in the order that we will be going. So Sydney, of course, somehow gets the number one pick here. We'll let you go first, though. Who do you have as the player of the year in your draft number one?
T.R. Jennings.
Yeah,
I think
already
she's
wrote
going to
that down.
explode.
Nice.
I figured so. I think she's going to explode.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be silly for her to not be in the top three in this conversation. Her talent level is there. She could have 30-plus home runs, and it really wouldn't be that surprising to any of us to see her hit 30. But, yeah, number one, Tara Jennings. Number two, Jake, you get the second pick.
I'm actually really surprised she's fallen to me. I think she's the face of college softball. She's the biggest name since Kat Osterman's here all over Twitter. Montana Fouts. So fun fact, she's more famous than the state. When you type in Montana, it autocorrects it to Fouts on there. So kind of had a down year by her standards, had an above 2 ERA. And, I mean, if that's your down year, that's better than some teams, like even good games. SEC Freshman of the Year, Tournament MVP, ton of accolades, has records on her softball. So Montana Fouts is my number two.
Montana Fouts, Alabama, good pick at number two there. Third pick is Gwen.
I have a long list. Not 19, but I have a long list. I'm going to go Allie Skaggs in Arizona.
I love Allie Skaggs. She's one that could easily win Pac-12 Player of the Year. She's one that could hit 30 home runs. She could hit over 400. She could be the reason why Arizona goes back to the College World Series. Great pick there. Allie Skaggs at number 3. All right, Dan.
Oh, I was worried Gwen was going to take my pick. I had 2 picks I really want to take here in the first round, but one of them actually fell to me. Over 30 home runs a year ago, by the way. Addison Bernard from Wichita State.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
that was my number one on my list.
That was my number one. So, yeah, Addison Bernard, look, one of, 6 or 7 players ever to get 30 home runs in a season in college softball history. And it just so happened that last year she played the same season as the GOAT. So, yeah, I'm taking her. I'll gladly take Bernard. Fantastic player. Look, gets hitting just because, playing for a smaller school, but look, it legit.
Those who watched our preview on the Big Ten and others, she was a big part of my preview for Wichita State. I believe that Wichita State will be a team that is going to be watched in the tournament. Pitching is their big question, but Addison Bernard, tremendous. So I have the 5th and the 6th picks. So I'm going to take Bailey Klingler, who was in the top 3 last year for Player of the Year award. I think that she's just going to have a tremendous season. Nobody knew if she was going to come back exactly this season. She decided to come back in the fall. Tremendous for Washington. This Washington team is underrated by every account, my account, and I believe that she's going to be so good that it's going to be really tough to knock her off this park. Okay, my next pick is going to be Catherine Sandercock from Florida State. I think that she's going to have such a huge season that she could win this award because she's going to have all the opportunity in the world to show that Florida State deserves to be there. She could win 30 games. Who knows how far? The ceiling is so high on Catherine right now. So I'm going to take Catherine Sandercock, number 6. Dan?
I knew you were going to take Bailey Klingler. That was my other option. It was between Bernard and Klingler. And so I guess you were going to take whoever I didn't. Mark, we think so similarly. We really do. I'm going to go with the pitcher here. Kelly Maxwell, Oklahoma State. Got that dog in her. got that. I mean, I guess they are the Cowgirls, but yeah, she got that dog in her. And if Oklahoma State wants a chance to dethrone Oklahoma, she needs to be at her very, very best.
Another person in my personal top 5, so I like that one there. That's a big pick. If she is elite, that's the way that Oklahoma State gets back to Omaha. I very much agree with that one. Okay, Gwen, you have the number 8 pick.
Let's see. I'm gonna go Kayla Kowalik at Kentucky.
Very solid pick. She's very good. Kayla has a super talent there. There's some good players in that Kentucky team. I like what she's bringing to the talent here. Good pick there at number 8. Very solid. Sid, number 9.
I'm going with Shanice Dells.
Ooh.
My girl.
Shanice Dells, super talented. Not surprising to stay there in Arkansas, so that's not a surprising pick there. But I'm not thinking that she's going to go anything different than she was last year. And if Arkansas wins the SEC, it's going to be on her. Jake, here you got the number 10. Or yeah. Wait, I went the wrong way. I skipped Jake. Sorry, Jake. You got to go ahead.
That's okay. She didn't steal mine.
I totally
I'm going
skipped
to go
Jake.
Kinley Callahan, the Alabama. Gwen kind of hinted at it earlier, but she was on my list, and it was a very, very short list. Ton of accolades. Number 1 ranked player in the 2023 class for softball. Miss Alabama softball. Excited to see. I think she's going to kind of lead the quote-unquote renaissance of Alabama. I know that they weren't down last year, but by their standards, they were down, and I think she's going to be a big reason why they kind of bounce back and get back to Oklahoma City.
All right, Sid.
I'm going to go with Megan Faramo.
She was in my top 5 as well, so I was hoping maybe I'd just steal a pick there very last, but that is a very good pick. If she can carry UCLA and be the dominant force in the circle, be that true ace on the West Coast, that could be a very high pick. So that's a good one there, Sid. Gwen?
I'm torn.
It's the last pick you're going to get, too.
I know. I just have, there's just so many good players. It's a problem.
Yeah.
Mark, you skipped me again.
God, sorry. Jake. Man, what is going on today with me?
I got to go first before Jake goes, just in case.
I can almost guarantee you don't have mine, so you can go ahead.
We'll see. Probably. But I'm going to go Valerie Cagle.
Okay. I like that. From Clemson?
Yep. No, not from Clemson.
Tennessee?
Yeah.
Okay, I had that written wrong. So, Valerie Cagle, Tennessee. Good pick. Jake?
I'm going to go way out of left field. Going to go Skylar Savage out of North Texas. I tried to find a true homer pick. There's no one on A&M's roster that I think was worthy. I mean, Skylar Savage broke a ton of records as a freshman, 15-8 on the year, and a team that really has never had the success that they had. I think North Texas is going to be back in the tournament again, and I think Skylar Savage is going to be a big reason why.
Savage is a good player, but there's a reason I skipped Jake twice. Dan, the last pick.
Jake could have just had, well, outside of Fouts, I mean, maybe Jake could have had the last 3 picks. And 2 picks, right? I mean,
I like to bring light to people that not everybody knows.
Oh, I mean, Fouts was a phenomenal pick still. Man, like, see, you know, Mark's talking about his top 5, and I'm looking at my short list, and, like, you know, my number 5 is there. Might do it. Nope. Skylar Wallace.
I had you penciled in already for Skylar Wallace. I just assumed that you were going to take her, so I already had you penciled in and said he's going to take her. So I'm going to
go. That was a good idea.
Tremendous talent again in Florida. We look forward to seeing her. I would be remiss if I did not take my SEC Player of the Year in Bri Ellis. I think that if she has the kind of season we all believe she could have at Auburn, that could really project her into being a Player of the Year candidate. So I'm going to take Bri Ellis as my 3rd and final pick. That rounds out our 15. We'll get a graphic sent out here later this week that has all those. Super fun here, guys. Last questions of the day. What is the best series? Jake, I'll let you start here so that because you have the biggest question marks there. Best series.
Here, let me go last. I want to hear everybody else's.
You want to go dead last? I'll let you go last. I mean, I'll go last, but you can go before me. Then I'll go with Gwen here first. Gwen, why don't you get us started here? What's your series that you picked this year?
I'm going to go Florida State, Oklahoma State for 2 reasons. 1, obviously I'm a homer, and 2, I'm going to that series, so I'm excited. And
That's
plus,
a
I just think
twofer.
it's going to be great.
That really, I mean, if you're going to pick a series, that's a great one to go to. I think anybody would be jealous of that one there. So, Florida State, Oklahoma State, love it. Sydney, why don't you go next?
I am being a homer and gonna say Florida at Arkansas. I think those teams are gonna be a lot more similar this year than people think, and I'm excited to see how they match up. I'm also gonna be there. It's the king of Arkansas softball's birthday. His name's Cole, so we're gonna have a nice time up in Fayetteville for that series.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Dan?
Yeah, I tried to see how I could fit a homer pick, but I just can't. So I'm not going to have a Mississippi State one, even though I will be at many Mississippi State series this season. Yeah, I will go for the battle for the heart of the ACC, Clemson and Florida, April 6th through the 8th. Look, I love Virginia Tech. I just don't think they're going to compete the same way that these two will for the regular season title. Like I said, you just got to take 2 out of 3. And I think you're going to win the conference. I think that's how close it is going to be between these two teams specifically, and it will be a battle. I'm so excited for it. So yeah,
Clemson, Florida State, another great one. Jake, what do you got?
I'm gonna do a total homer pick. A&M Arkansas. It's their first SEC series. I think that's when SEC kind of gets put on notice that A&M is the sleeping giant. We got a new coach, new roster revamped, brand new facilities. Everything's going to be there for the taking. I think that's the weekend they put the SEC on notice. So sorry, Sid.
Come on up to Fayetteville for that one.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it.
I love it. I love it. Me personally, I'm going to go UCLA versus Washington. I think that is going to be the Pac-12 championship early on there. That's March 17th through the 19th. I love those two clubs. I think there's going to be really tremendous talent there. There's a lot of good teams to like, but there's a lot of good series out there. Whatever you're doing, go out, watch softball. There's so much going on. I know all of us watched a lot today. We appreciate all you fans. Again, if you guys have questions, send them over to us at College Softball Central on Twitter, or you can put us up on collegebaseballcentral.net and go ask us questions on there. Other than that, we have lots to get to this year. We're going to be joining you guys a lot, bringing you guys a top 25 poll every week. We're very excited. Join and follow each one of our individual writers. They're very talented here. Super talented. Get out there on the Twitter and go follow us. Jake McKeever, Dan Faulkner, Sydney Fields, and Gwen Rhodes. I'm Mark Garland, I guess. Been struggling today, but thanks for joining us, guys. We appreciate y'all.
See y'all later.